You know, in almost every culture, every religion, there is this primal, universal concept of the bad place, the basement of the universe where the wicked go. But when you start reading into the Islamic description of Hell Jahannam, it feels different. It's not just a pit of fire. It feels structured. It feels almost like a living ecosystem of suffering.
That is exactly the right word for it. An ecosystem. It's not a cartoon dungeon with a red guy holding a pitchfork. In Islamic theology, Jahannam is described with such visceral architectural precision that it stops being a metaphor and starts feeling like a place with coordinates. It has topography. It has a diet. It has a voice.
A voice? Wait, you mean the place itself speaks?
In a way, yes. The Quran describes hell as a beast that roars. There's a verse that says, when the fire sees the sinners from a distance, they will hear its raging and its exhaling. It's described as furious. It almost has a personality of absolute unyielding hunger. It's terrifying because it implies the environment isn't passive. The fire isn't just chemistry, it's an entity.
That creates a psychological horror that's way worse than just physical pain. It's the idea that the walls are watching you. But let's back up a second. You mentioned structure. I've heard people talk about the seven gates. Is that literal? Is it like Dante's Inferno with circles?
It's similar, but the logic is different. Yes, there are 7 gates, and the Quran implies a vertical hierarchy. But unlike Dante's version, which is often poetic or political, the Islamic structure is strictly moral. The depth corresponds to the severity of the spiritual corruption. You have the upper levels for believers who sinned and need purification, and then you go down into the heavy stuff.
And the bottom? Who ends up in the absolute basement?
This surprises a lot of people. You'd think the bottom would be for the atheists or the tyrants like Pharaoh. But the lowest depth is reserved for the munafiqun, the hypocrites.
The hypocrites? Really? Worse than open enemies?
It makes sense if you think about the philosophy of betrayal. An open enemy is honest about their stance. You know where you stand with them. But a hypocrite, someone who claimed to believe, who stood shoulder to shoulder with the community, but was rotting from the inside, that is seen as the ultimate corruption of the self. It's the highest form of lie. So, the theology reflects that. The deepest pit is for the deepest deception.
That's a heavy thought. It shifts the focus from, what did you do, to, who were you really? But we have to talk about the physical aspect. The descriptions in the texts are incredibly graphic. I've read about the trees.
The tree of Zakkum. This is one of the most vivid images in the whole canon. It's a tree that springs out of the bottom of hellfire, which in itself is a paradox, a plant growing in fire. But it's an anti-tree. Its roots are in the abyss, and its fruits are described as looking like the heads of devils.
Heads of devils. That is nightmare fuel.
It's meant to be. And the horror is that the inhabitants are starving. They have this ravenous, burning hunger, so they are forced to eat from this tree. But the fruit boils in their bellies like molten brass. It's the inversion of nourishment. In this life, food gives comfort and life. In Jahannam, the act of eating the survival instinct itself is weaponized against you.
It's ironic punishment. You seek relief, and the relief is just more torture.
Precisely. And the drink? It's boiling water or purulent fluid, and yet they drink it with the desperation of a thirsty camel. That's the imagery used. It paints a picture of total desperation. You know that it will hurt you, but you cannot stop yourself. It's a cycle of compulsion and agony.
It sounds relentless. But here is the question that always comes up for me, and I think for anyone engaging with this topic from a modern perspective. Why? What is the purpose of this level of severity? Is it just a scare tactic? Be good or the monster gets you.
That's the cynical take, sure. But if you talk to theologians, they frame it differently. They talk about adult justice. If you look at human history, look at the Genghis Khans, the Hitlers, or even just the local abuser who ruins lives and dies peacefully in his sleep, where is the balance? If the destination for the oppressor and the oppressed is the same, just nothingness, then morality is a joke.
So hell is necessary to validate the concept of good?
Exactly. The fire gives weight to the light. If actions have no ultimate consequence, then life is weightless. The severity of hell is a reflection of the severity of the rights of the victims. In Islam, God is the most merciful, yes, but he is also the compeller, the avenger on behalf of the weak. Hell is the place where the cosmic scales are finally balanced.
That makes sense philosophically, but there's also this concept I've heard about the bridge, the Sirat. It sounds like an action movie set piece, but I know it's deeply spiritual.
The Sirat is the climax of the judgment. It's a bridge stretched over the expanse of hell leading to paradise. Every single soul must cross it. The description is famous. Thinner than a hair, sharper than a sword.
And I assume you don't just walk across it casually.
Your speed depends on your light, your deeds. Some people zoom across like a lightning bolt, others like the wind. Some run, some crawl, and some, their light goes out and they fall. The hooks coming from the fire below grab them.
It's a terrifying metaphor for the precariousness of life. We're always walking a tightrope, even if we don't feel it.
And notice the individualism of it. You can't hold anyone's hand on the Sirat. You can't pay someone to carry you. It's just you and the accumulation of your choices, suspended over the abyss. It strips away all your worldly connections. No status, no money, no family name, just you.
Is there any way out, or is it a permanent sentence? I know there's a debate about eternity.
That's a nuanced area. For those who rejected the truth entirely, what the text calls kufr or active disbelief, the mainstream view is that it is eternal. But there is a massive category of people believers who sinned, for whom hell is temporary.
Like a rehabilitation center? A very painful one?
Like a purification process. Think of gold. To get pure gold, you have to put it in the fire to burn off the dross, the impurities. Once that layer of sin is burned away, the soul is taken out and admitted into paradise. So for many, Jahannam is actually an act of mercy.
Mercy? That's a hard sell.
It's the mercy of not leaving you impure. It's the surgery required to save the patient, even if the surgery is agonizing. There's a famous hadith where God eventually orders the angels to take out anyone who had even a mustard seed of faith in their heart. And then God scoops up handfuls of people who had no good deeds, but perhaps some kernel of hope or belief, and saves them.
So the fire isn't the end of the story for everyone.
No. And that's the tension that keeps the believer sane. It's called khawf, and raja, fear and hope. You are supposed to live right in the middle. If you only have hope, you become arrogant and lazy. If you only have fear, you despair and give up. The graphic description of hell is the counterweight to human complacency.
It's interesting you say that. In a modern world where we try to sanitize everything, we hide death, we hide pain, this ancient text is forcing you to look at the absolute worst-case scenario. It's confronting you with the ultimate consequence.
And I think that's why it's effective. It wakes you up. There's a psychological concept called mortality salience. When you are aware of death, you value life more. When you are aware of hell, you value your moral choices more. A smile, a charity, a moment of patience suddenly. These aren't just nice things. They are shields against the fire.
It gamifies life in a very high-stakes way. Everything matters.
Everything. Even half a date fruit given in charity can save you according to the Prophet. That's the contrast. The fire is massive, cosmic, roaring, but the protection against it? It can be small, it can be simple, it's accessible.
That's a beautiful contrast. The vastness of the punishment versus the accessibility of the redemption.
And that brings us back to the core point. The fire isn't there because God wants to burn people. The theology states that God does not benefit from your suffering. The fire is there to let you know that reality has hard edges. You can't just walk through walls. If you violate the moral laws of the universe, you get burned, not out of malice, but out of truth.
It's the ultimate reality check.
Exactly. And for the believer, the description of hell serves one final purpose. It makes paradise taste sweeter. You can't truly understand the value of the shade until you've understood the heat of the sun. The rivers of milk and honey in heaven mean so much more when you know about the boiling water and the zakum tree.
It's all about contrast. You need the dark to see the light.
And you need to know the abyss is there so you don't fall into it.
Well, we've certainly stared into the abyss today. It's a terrifying concept, but strangely, it leaves you feeling responsible. Like, okay, I need to go do something good right now.
That's the design. If you walk away from this conversation just scared, you missed the point. If you walk away motivated to be a better person, then the concept of Jahannam has done its job.
A powerful place to leave it. The fire is a warning, not a wish. Thank you for walking us through the heat without getting us burned.
My pleasure. Let's stay on the safe side of the bridge.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep your lights on.